All right, friends, welcome back to the channel. This video, I'm going to be winterizing my equipment. And what I use to winterize is stable. So, and you're also going to need your gas. And I'll explain what that's for here in a little bit. But the process is really simple, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So, step one is going to be to fill the gas tanks in your equipment up to the top as full as you can. That way there's not as much air in the tank, and so less moisture can get into the gas over the off season. And then I'm going to use a fuel stabilizer to treat the fuel that's in the tank. I'm going to use like a small amount, like 1/4 ounce or less. This stuff is pretty concentrated, I think, because it says 1 ounce can treat 2 gallons. So a 1/4 ounce, or I might even go 5 milliliters, that's even less, is more than enough to treat an 11 ounce gas tank. That's another reason I mix 40-to-1 instead of 50-to-1, because adding that could lean the oil ratio out closer to 50-to-1. But with AMSOIL, I'm still protected. With any oil, you'd probably be protected. You see, there's still a little bit in there. I'll probably end up dumping that out into a vehicle or something to make sure it's not going to be going bad over the winter. Just this super small amount, less than a 1/4 gallon diluted with 10 plus gallons in a vehicle, is not going to make a difference. The ratio would be like 1,000-to-1. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. All right, so I'm going to get to that. I'm going to pour this into the tank, and then I'm going to shake it up to make sure it gets all the fuel, prime it into the carburetor, and then run it just for like a minute. That way that fuel stabilizer can get to everything in the fuel system and also inside the engine. And then at the very end of running it, I'm going to put the choke on, and that way a bunch more fuel and oil go into the cylinder. And that extra oil that's going in on choke is going to keep the internals protected from corrosion over the long off season. You know, at least that's what I think. I'm not an expert here, but in theory, it sounds like it should work. All right, so I'm going to go fill the tanks up, and I'll show you pouring this in. Then we're going to run them. All right, friends, so as you can see, I filled the gas almost up to the top, and I'm just going to pour a little bit in. I'm going to do my best to try and not do more than just a little bit. A little goes a long way, so be slow here. There, just that itty little bit. Oh, crap. See, friends, that's not what you want to end up having happen. Yep, we done spilled it a little bit, but it's in the tank. I'm gonna go clean that up real quick, and then we'll do the same on the leaf blower. All right, friends, here we go with the leaf blower. Let's hope we don't spill it this time. All right, so you see, I just put barely a little bit in, and that's all it needs, just a very little bit. A little goes a long way here. All right, I'm gonna put the cap on when I'm done filming. All right, real quick, I just wanna clarify probably a few questions some people may have. Some are probably gonna say, you should just run it dry. It's the better way to do it instead of keeping the fuel in it. Well, I don't think that's the best way to do it, because number one, when a 2-stroke engine doesn't have gas, it doesn't have any lubrication. And I understand that it's just for a brief moment, but still, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's a smart idea. And number two is that the diaphragms in the carburetor can, not saying they will, but they can get hard and dry if they don't have fuel in them. So they need to they can just get dry because of the air and the moisture. So keeping them submerged in fuel with a protective stabilizer treatment can keep them from hardening up. At least that's what I've heard. I don't know if it's entirely true, but that's just what I've done, and it's been working pretty good. All right, friends, so now what I'm going to do is just shake up the gas tanks. That way that fuel stabilizer gets everywhere in it. And then I'm going to prime the primer bulb a bunch, and that way that stabilized fuel can make its way into the carburetor. And then I'm going to start them up and run them for just about a minute. That way the fuel treatment can get throughout the entire engine. All right, so I'm just gonna mix it up here. And friends, I might look kind of stupid running these outside. It is like 20 degrees, and we got a big snowstorm like a few days ago. So there's some snowbanks out there. All right, now I'm gonna open the garage and get this fired up here, friends. Just gonna run it for like a minute here. Friends, hopefully you can hear me, but when I'm done here, I'm just gonna run them on choke till they die, which should only be a few seconds. If it doesn't, I'll just shut it off, and then we'll be done. All right, friends, that's it. They have been winterized. They're good. You can put them away for the season now. All right, next we'll do the lawnmower. It's basically the same process, huh? All right, friends, so I've got my stabilizer in there. I tip the mower back and forth to mix it up, and I've got a piece of tape on the brake handle. Because this doesn't have a priming system, it's gonna have to run for a few more minutes to get the treatment where it needs to go. So maybe like 5 minutes. But anyway, I'm gonna start it up and then let it run for a little bit. All right, friends, I'm gonna let this run for a few minutes, then I'll come back and shut it down. Friends, we got my dad's mower here. Same process that we're gonna do. Just put a little bit in there, just like that. And then I'll shake it up and run it for a few minutes again. processes before, friends. Start her up and let it run. Friends, that's a lost cause. That mower's junk anyway. Won't start. It's old. It's not even popping off. It's what you might consider junk. Although, nothing's junk. There could be some usable parts on this thing. But yeah, that's a lost cause. Anyway, friends, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you learned something. Wishing you happy holidays and see you next time.